There's one thing I've learned about life and relationships. It's not just about what you share, it's about what you protect. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is keep certain parts of yourself sacred. We live in a world where women are constantly told to be open, transparent, and give their whole heart without hesitation. But here's the truth. If you give away everything, you risk losing the most valuable parts of yourself. A strong woman knows that some things should be kept private, not because she's hiding, but because she's protecting her peace, her power, and her self-respect. Nem MBEOR, ENR, STEER, UGG, LSB, EFO, AHLR, TER, EHL. There is a very real difference between being vulnerable and being prematurely exposed. Vulnerability is powerful when it's intentional, when you choose to share your story from a place of strength, self-awareness, and clarity. Premature exposure, on the other hand, is when you open up about wounds that are still raw, emotions that are still messy, and pain that you haven't yet processed. And that, my friend, can leave you feeling even more hurt, misunderstood, and unprotected. Here's why your inner struggles should remain yours, at least until you've done the work to heal them. When you're going through something heavy, whether it's anxiety, past trauma, a loss, a personal failure, or even deep insecurities. Those moments are incredibly fragile. Your thoughts aren't fully formed yet. Your emotions are still in motion. You might not even be seeing the situation clearly because you're standing too close to it. This is the danger zone for oversharing. When you're in this state, your words can come out tangled. Your feelings can be misunderstood, and people may interpret your struggle in ways that you never intended. Imagine telling someone your deepest fear when you're still in the middle of battling it. If they respond in a way that's dismissive, judgmental, or even just awkward, it doesn't just hurt. It can reinforce your insecurity. It can make you second guess yourself and doubt your ability to overcome. Worse, in the wrong hands, that unhealed truth can become a weapon against you later. This isn't about being paranoid. It's about being wise. Not everyone deserves access to the most tender parts of your soul while they're still tender. There's also a psychological reason behind this. Sharing unprocessed pain can sometimes create a false sense of relief. You think that because you've talked about it, you've done something about it. But talking isn't healing. Healing takes work. Reflection, self-awareness, therapy if you need it, journaling, prayer, meditation, setting boundaries, and giving yourself the space to process what really happened and how it affected you. If you skip this process and share too soon, you can get stuck in a cycle where you keep reliving the pain instead of actually moving through it. Another danger is misinterpretation. When you open up about something while you're still in the thick of it, your words can be colored by heightened emotion. You might exaggerate certain parts, downplay others, or paint a picture that isn't the full reality, simply because your mind is trying to make sense of the chaos. If the person you're speaking to takes your words at face value, they may form opinions about you, your situation, or your character based on an incomplete picture. And once someone forms that impression, it's very hard to change their mind later, even if you've healed and moved on. There's also the trust factor. Every relationship, romantic or otherwise, needs time to build trust. Trust is earned through consistent actions, shared experiences, and gradual vulnerability. Dumping your deepest, rawest struggles on someone too early in a relationship can overwhelm them, create imbalance, or make them feel burdened. In healthy connections, vulnerability should be a mutual, gradual exchange, not a one-sided flood of pain that leaves the other person feeling like they have to fix you. When you protect your unhealed struggles, you give yourself space to become the version of you who owns the story, not the one who's being owned by it. There's a huge difference between saying, I'm currently drowning in this thing and I don't know how to get out, versus I went through something really hard and here's what I learned from it. The second version positions you as the hero of your own journey, not the victim still trapped in the middle of it. Think about the most inspiring stories you've ever heard. They almost always come from a place of hindsight. The speaker has processed the pain, drawn meaning from it, and now shares it to inspire, teach, or connect. They're not just bleeding on stage. They're offering a healed scar as proof that you can survive and grow stronger. That's the power you give yourself when you wait until your struggles are healed before sharing them. It's not just about emotional protection. It's also about maintaining dignity. Some people mistake constant emotional spilling for authenticity, but there's a fine line between being real and being reckless with your feelings. You can be authentic without being completely exposed. You can let people see your humanity without handing them the keys to your inner chaos. In relationships, this becomes even more important. Early on, you're still assessing if someone is emotionally safe, trustworthy, and respectful. You don't know yet if they have the maturity to handle your unhealed wounds with care. Giving them that level of access too soon is like handing over a loaded gun and hoping they don't pull the trigger. A healthy, emotionally secure partner will respect your boundaries and give you space to share at your own pace. Some might argue, but what if I need someone to lean on? And yes, you do need support, but there's a difference between confiding in a trusted, long-standing friend, therapist, or family member versus sharing with someone who hasn't yet proven their loyalty or intentions. Your support system should be made up of people who have a history of showing up for you, people who won't twist your words or hold your vulnerability against you later. And let's be real, not everyone has pure intentions. Some people collect your weaknesses the way others collect secrets, just to use them when it benefits them. In the wrong hands, your unhealed struggles can be twisted into ammunition during an argument, gossip, or manipulation. Keeping certain things private isn't about being secretive. It's about being self-protective. It's also about energy. Healing takes focus, and when you share your pain too early, you invite other people's opinions, advice, and emotional reactions into the mix. Sometimes their feedback is helpful, but often it can be distracting or even harmful. They may project their own experiences onto yours, give you advice that doesn't fit your situation, or unintentionally make you feel worse. By keeping your struggles to yourself during the healing process, you get to filter out that noise and focus on your own clarity. There's a discipline to this, learning how to sit with your own emotions without rushing to unload them onto someone else. It builds emotional resilience. It teaches you that you can be your own safe place first before asking anyone else to be that for you. That self-reliance doesn't mean you don't trust people. It means you trust yourself enough to process your life before handing it over to others to interpret. When you finally do share your story after you've healed, it hits differently. It comes from a place of empowerment rather than desperation. People listen differently when you speak from a healed heart because you're not asking them to carry your pain. You're offering them your perspective. You're not saying, please fix me. You're saying, here's what I went through and here's how I grew. This is why it's crucial to recognize the difference between transparency and timing. You can be transparent, but you have to choose the right time, and that time is rarely in the middle of the storm. The middle of the storm is when you seek shelter, keep warm, and ride it out, not when you open all your windows and invite the world to watch. Protecting your unhealed struggles also gives you control over your own narrative. Once you share something, you can't take it back. You can't control how it's repeated, retold, or remembered. But if you wait until you've healed, you get to decide how the story is framed, what details to include, and what message you want it to carry. It's not about putting up walls. It's about building gates. Walls shut everyone out, but gates let you decide who gets in. And when you are allowed to have an inner world that is yours alone until you're ready to invite someone in, you're allowed to protect your heart while it's still tender. You're allowed to take your time. Namin dudu o ufu en fini NCILIND bedensi styrgy money is more than just numbers in a bank account. It's stability, freedom, and the ability to make choices without being trapped by dependence. For women especially, financial independence is one of the most powerful forms of self-protection. It ensures that your future, your safety, and your opportunities are not controlled by someone else's decisions, moods, or goodwill. And yet so many women are taught, often subtly, to give up financial control in the name of trust, love, or partnership. Your financial independence strategy is not something that should be handed over or fully revealed to anyone until you've built an unshakable foundation for yourself. This is not about secrecy for the sake of being secretive. It's about safeguarding your autonomy and creating a safety net that exists no matter what happens in your relationships, career, or life circumstances. The truth is, financial vulnerability can make you emotionally vulnerable too. If you are completely dependent on someone else for your basic needs, your rent or mortgage, your transportation, your food, your ability to survive, you lose a significant amount of personal power. Even if the person providing for you is loving and trustworthy, you are still placing your life in their hands in a way that can limit your choices. When you maintain your own income, savings, and long-term plan, you're protecting yourself from the unpredictable. Life happens, jobs can be lost, relationships can change, people can pass away, and circumstances can shift overnight. If you've built your own financial foundation, you're not left scrambling or feeling trapped in a situation you can't leave. You have options, and options are everything. Some women make the mistake of thinking, we're in love, we're building a life together, I can trust him with everything. And while trust is essential in a healthy relationship, trust does not mean blind surrender. There's a difference between sharing finances and handing over complete control. The first fosters partnership. The second erases your individual security. Think of it like this. You wouldn't give away your house keys to someone you just started dating, no matter how charming they are. You'd wait, you'd observe, and you'd make sure they've proven themselves trustworthy over time. Your finances deserve the same level of caution, because the reality is financial control can be used as a form of manipulation or control, sometimes in ways that are subtle and hard to detect at first. For example, a partner who knows the exact details of your income, your savings, and your debt might begin making decisions for you without asking. They might discourage you from pursuing certain goals because you don't need the money, or I can take care of it. That might sound generous, but it can also be a slow erosion of your independence. In more toxic situations, financial knowledge can turn into financial control, limiting your access to your own money, questioning every purchase you make, or even pressuring you to hand over your savings for the good of the relationship. A wise woman keeps her financial plan private until she's certain she's dealing with someone who respects boundaries, supports her independence, and has a track record of healthy money habits. And even then, it's perfectly acceptable to maintain some level of separation, a personal account, an emergency fund, or investments that are solely in your name. Your financial independence strategy should include several elements: your income sources. This includes your job, side hustles, investments, or passive income streams. Relying on multiple sources is always safer than relying on one. Your savings plan. A clear method for setting aside money consistently with the discipline to avoid dipping into it unnecessarily. Your emergency fund, enough money to cover several months of living expenses without outside help. Your investments, retirement accounts, stocks, bonds, real estate, or any other assets that grow over time. Your financial education, understanding how money works, how to budget, how to avoid unnecessary debt, and how to make informed financial decisions. When you reveal all of these details too early or to the wrong person, you give them insight into your financial vulnerability or your financial strength in a way that they could misuse. Someone who knows you have significant savings might subtly pressure you to fund their ideas, bail them out of mistakes, or take on shared expenses that primarily benefit them. On the flip side, if they see that you have little in savings, they may underestimate your worth or feel they have more control over you. Keeping your financial strategy private also allows you to adjust and improve it without outside interference. Money is personal. Your financial goals might not align with someone else's, and that's okay. Maybe you want to save aggressively for a home, invest in a business, or travel the world. Those choices are yours to make without having to justify them to someone who doesn't share your vision. For women in long-term relationships or marriage, financial independence doesn't mean financial secrecy from a trustworthy partner. It means ensuring that you are not completely exposed or dependent. It means you have resources in your own name, a credit history that is yours alone, and the ability to stand on your own if life throws a curveball. Too many women have been blindsided by divorce, the sudden death of a spouse, or even a partner's financial recklessness, only to realize they have no savings, no assets, and no financial plan of their own. There's also the psychological freedom that comes from having your own money. You make decisions differently when you know you can take care of yourself. You set boundaries more easily. You walk away from toxic situations faster. When you are financially independent, you're not staying somewhere out of fear of survival. You're staying because you choose to. That's an incredibly powerful shift. And here's something often overlooked. Your financial independence is not just about protecting yourself from potential harm. It's about protecting your ability to dream big. If all of your financial decisions are tied to someone else's approval, you may limit yourself without realizing it. You might not take a career risk, Start a business, go back to school, or relocate for a new opportunity because you feel financially bound to another person's plan. Independence gives you the freedom to say yes to yourself without needing permission. Let's also talk about self-worth. When you manage your own finances well, it reinforces your confidence in your abilities. You prove to yourself that you can create stability, make wise choices, and build the life you want. That sense of competence spills over into every other area of your life, your career, your relationships, your personal goals. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to be taken care of and start seeing yourself as someone who is fully capable of taking care of herself. It's important to remember that financial independence is not built overnight. It's the result of consistent, intentional choices, saying no to impulse spending, avoiding high interest debt, living within your means and prioritizing your future over instant gratification. It's also about being strategic, finding ways to grow your income, leveraging opportunities, and educating yourself so you're making informed decisions. And here's a key point. You don't owe anyone full access to your financial playbook. Not your friends, not your extended family, not even a romantic partner you've just started building with. You can discuss shared expenses, split bills, and make joint decisions without laying out every detail of your personal accounts and investments. Boundaries in money are just as important as boundaries in emotions. In some cultures and families, women are discouraged from even thinking about financial independence because it's seen as distrustful or selfish. But that's a dangerous mindset. Financial independence is not about expecting the worst. It's about being prepared for anything. It's about valuing yourself enough to ensure that no matter what, you can stand on your own 2 feet. Having a financial independent strategy also protects you from subtle forms of financial abuse. Financial abuse isn't always obvious. It can be as simple as someone guilt tripping you into paying for things repeatedly, discouraging you from working, convincing you to put all assets in their name for convenience, or keeping you in the dark about joint finances. By maintaining your own separate plan, you create a safeguard that keeps you from being cornered into dependency. This isn't about fear. It's about freedom to walk away from a bad deal, a toxic relationship, or a job that drains you. Freedom to make choices based on your values and goals, not your desperation. Freedom to help others because you want to, not because you're pressured to. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy peace of mind, and that peace comes from knowing that you are secure, capable, and in control of your own future. And that starts with keeping your financial independence strategy private until you're sure that sharing it will not compromise your autonomy or your safety. Nam MBR tier hair, fewer eo movis before Te Chi Wai Shapipi, and one of the most underrated superpowers a woman can develop is the ability to move in silence. In a world that constantly pressures you to share your journey, post your progress and announce your next step, there's incredible strength in keeping your plans to yourself until they're real. Your dreams, your goals, and your strategic moves deserve protection. Not because you're being secretive, but because the early stages of any vision are the most fragile. And that's when they're most vulnerable to doubt, sabotage, and unnecessary interference. When you share your plans too early, you're essentially opening the door to opinions before your idea has had a chance to grow strong roots. People will project their own fears, insecurities, and limitations onto you. They'll say things like, "Are you sure you can pull that off?" Or, "That seems risky," or, "I don't think that's realistic." Even if they mean well, those seeds of doubt can take root in your mind before you've even taken your first real step. And sometimes those doubts are enough to make you shrink back or delay your dreams. Your future moves are like seedlings. They need to be planted in private soil and nurtured without outside hands pulling at them. The beginning stages of a goal require focus, clarity, and belief. You don't want to dilute that with the noise of other people's voices, because the truth is, no matter how much people love you, they don't see your vision the way you do. They don't feel the fire inside you. They don't know the work you've already put in, the nights you've stayed up thinking, planning, preparing. They only see what you tell them. And sometimes that's not enough for them to believe. There's also a practical reason for keeping your plans private protection from intentional or unintentional sabotage. Not everyone around you has your best interest at heart. Some people will actively try to derail you out of jealousy, competition, or insecurity. Others might not sabotage you directly, but they might unknowingly share your plans with people who don't need to know. And the more people who know your next move, the less control you have over it. In business, in careers, and even in personal life, timing is everything. Announcing a move before it's finalized can put you in a vulnerable position. Imagine telling everyone you're about to get a major promotion, start a new business, or relocate, and then for some reason it falls through. Now, you're not just dealing with personal disappointment, you're dealing with the embarrassment of explaining what happened to every person you told. When you keep things private until they're concrete, you give yourself space to pivot, adapt, and adjust without outside pressure. Another danger of revealing your future moves too soon is premature validation. When you announce a plan, you might receive praise, excitement, and encouragement from others. And while that feels good, it can trick your brain into feeling like you've already accomplished something. Psychologists call this social reality. The idea that public acknowledgement can sometimes replace the drive to actually do the work. You've gotten the dopamine hit of people celebrating you, so you lose some of the urgency to push forward. Moving in silence keeps you hungry. There's also the issue of intellectual property and creative theft. If you're working on a unique idea, business, or creative project, telling the wrong person too early can lead to them running with your concept before you've had a chance to secure it. This is not paranoia, it's reality. Ideas are currency, and some people are quick to execute on what they hear, especially if you haven't yet put it into motion yourself. By keeping quiet, you protect your originality and give yourself the time to establish ownership over your vision. Keeping your future moves private also shields you from the weight of other people's expectations. The moment you tell the world you're doing something, you invite constant check-ins. How's that going? When will it be ready? Did you start yet? That can be motivating for some, but for others, it becomes pressure that turns the process into something stressful instead of exciting. Silence allows you to work at your own pace, make mistakes in private, and refine your strategy without an audience. It's worth noting that keeping your moves private doesn't mean isolating yourself or refusing help. There's a difference between sharing your vision with a small, trusted circle and broadcasting it to anyone who will listen. Your inner circle, the people who have proven loyalty, discretion, and genuine support, can be a safe place to bounce ideas and seek advice. But even then, you share selectively, focusing on the parts they can genuinely help with, not handing over your entire blueprint. Strategic silence also gives you the element of surprise. There's a unique power in letting your actions speak for you. When you show up with the results, the business already launched, the book already written, the move already made, you remove the opportunity for anyone to talk you out of it. The conversation shifts from, should you, to, wow, you did. And that's a position of strength. In relationships, keeping certain future plans private is equally important. If you're considering a career change, a relocation, or a major life shift, revealing it too soon to someone you're dating or newly involved with can complicate things unnecessarily. They might try to influence your decision based on their needs or preferences. Even if it's not in your best interest, you owe it to yourself to clarify your direction before inviting someone else's opinion into the mix. For women especially, this is about retaining agency over your own life. Society often conditions women to be open books, to share every detail in the spirit of connection or vulnerability. But boundaries around your plans are not coldness, they're self-respect. You're not required to explain your every move to anyone, no matter how close they are to you. Consider how many powerful women in history and business have operated under the radar until their moves were complete. They understood that momentum is fragile and outside influence can shift it, sometimes subtly, sometimes drastically. They protected their plans the way a lioness protects her cubs, fiercely and without apology. That's the level of intentionality you need when it comes to your future moves. When you keep your vision private, you also give yourself time to test it. Not every plan will survive the early stages. Sometimes you'll realize that what you thought you wanted isn't actually what you need. Sometimes new opportunities will emerge that shift your direction. When you haven't publicly committed to one path, you can change course without feeling like you've failed in front of an audience. This freedom to pivot is one of the most valuable advantages of strategic silence. Another factor to consider is energy. Every conversation about your plans takes energy away from executing them. Talking about what you're going to do can be exciting, but it can also create the illusion of progress without actual progress. The hours you spend explaining your plans could hours spent building them. When you operate in silence, all that energy goes toward action instead of